at the stick. From who's got it better than us to brick by brick. It's always the 49ers way, from off-season to game day. Yeah, we talk back. It's the 49ers Cutback.
It's 49ers Cutback Podcast time.
Yes,
It
sir.
is time to go over the latest news from the 49ers. Practice backed up a little bit this week, not starting until Thursday. So,
What?
but there's still roster moves. The 49ers got to make some
It's
moves.
true, but
Monday Night Football game.
I'm stunned. I'm stunned that the Monday Night Football game moves everything back just a little bit of time. It is what it is. So look, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. Join the 2,000 plus members of the Cutback crew as we dive into today's topics and what's going on in 49ers land and what's going on with this team. And the McGlinchey information is sad, but we all know it was happening. We all know McGlinchey was going to IR. He was out for the season. They announced that already, but he makes that move. And some updates for the TCC and just people in general on McGlinchey and what he's dealing with here with the torn quad. Depends on what's going on with it. If it's a small tear, it wouldn't be probably more than about 4 to 6 weeks because it wouldn't require surgery potentially. However, that doesn't look to be the case because they're ruling him out for the year. So with a year, a large tear, typically recovery can take 4 to 8 weeks, which means you're looking at something that probably came off the bone a little bit, or is a significant tear, or some sort of portion of the quadricep that is going to need to be reattached, whether that's to the other part of the quad or back to the bone. Not 100% sure. There's not a lot of reports out on what is going on with the tear, but he's going to be having surgery. He's going to be out for a significant amount of time, but he should be back plenty of time and healthy by the time we get to training camp next year.
Yeah, next year's not in question. What's going to be the question is where he's going to play next year. Is he going to be the right tackle? Is he going to be right guard? We do know that they picked up his fifth-year option. He's going to make $10.8 million next year, and that's a pretty cheap salary for a right tackle in the NFL. A right tackle that's so good at at run blocking. The one thing that's went kind of unseen, I would say, is that the fact that McGlinchey only gave up 2 sacks this season and was playing pretty well. It wasn't an excellent over the top. He wasn't Trent Williams. He's never going to be Trent Williams. But what he was a very adequate right tackle that could do a lot of things in the run game and then be adequate in the pass game. And now we're going to lose that. And it's unfortunate, but we have some big decisions now on who's going to play on that right side of the line.
Absolutely.
And right now, there's no clarity as to what that is going to be. Hopefully, we'll find out, after practice today, what the 49ers ultimately decide. They're going to hit the field about 12:30, so we'll start getting an idea of what it is. But until Kyle Shanahan actually speaks to the media, I'm guessing, he might give a couple hints. But ultimately, you're not going to know anything until we get farther in the week, and we might never know exactly who's going to start. If I was Kyle Shanahan, I wouldn't let everyone know, even though he probably will. I wouldn't let him know because I don't want the Rams to know who they're going to be preparing for where.
Agreed, 100%. This is the same thing Cliff Kingsbury did, right? There was a good chance that they knew long in advance who the quarterback was and whether or not DeAndre Hopkins was playing, and nothing was said right until the morning of the game, about 2 hours until game time that it officially gets announced. Don't expect anything else other than that, 49ers fans. Don't expect there to be a guy that is announced. They all will in the building know. The person who is starting at right tackle will know who it is early on this week. But don't expect you to know until we get to game time or right before game time. Pre-game show on NBC is when you'll find out, just as the rest of the world and America finds out who it's going to be. And you're right. Kyle has definitely dropped hints as to who it could be at, because he's already brought up and mentioned the fact that you have Tom Compton, who played there this last Sunday. You've guys seen Jalen Moore play. We'll see how he reps this week and, just where things are at. And he also didn't eliminate the possibility of using Daniel Brunskill, something that we talked about. And that one opens the door for a lot of possibilities, because are you going to put Jalen Moore in at guard, and slide Brunskill over? Are you putting Aaron Banks in at guard and sliding Brunskill over? They also just activated Colton McKivitz from the practice squad to the active roster. Could he be being utilized in some way, shape, or form, Ant? Would you expect that? Would that surprise you?
Well, Colton McKivitz gives you flexibility because he can play guard and tackle.
True.
So he's a guy that they had valued a lot. Now, he obviously didn't make this roster.
Mm-hmm.
So he was somebody that they put on the practice squad. But we don't know his overall development while he's been on the practice squad, where he's sitting at right now. If he's a better option than Banks right now, I would tend to think not. I think he'll be up, but he will be inactive for this game. My guess is that we're going to either see Jalen Moore or Tom Compton at right tackle, and then Daniel Brunskill at right guard, because the Aaron Donald. You're more worried about what is going to happen on the interior with your with your offensive guard than you are with your offensive tackle. If Von Miller plays, it could get really dicey. That's when a lot of concerns happen, because then they could overload one side and really give you a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm.
The 49ers are going to have to figure out a way to mask this, figure out a way to help chip, give some help. Running backs are going to have to help fill on Donald. They're going to have to double team. That hasn't been a strong suit for Brunskill and Mack so far this season. When they're in pass blocking and they've doubled, it hasn't always worked out. However, in the first half of the game against Arizona, the 49ers did a very good job of giving Jimmy Garoppolo pretty clean pockets. The times they had problems is when Daniel Brunskill was one-on-one and was getting walked back into the quarterback. When they were using things where they were playing games and combination and working together, there were good situations. But ultimately, it wasn't a great situation this time, because you don't know who's going to play. I think personally, and I don't know how you feel about this, Alex, but I think personally I would prefer to have Jalen Moore playing right tackle over Tom Compton, but only if he feels comfortable playing on the right side. Because what I saw from him in that game, where he pulled in for Trent Williams, was a better performance than what we saw from Compton in the second half against the Cardinals.
Agreed with you. Jalen Moore is the ideal option. I think everyone, you, me, Cutback crew, 49ers faithful, I think even the coaching staff would agree with you on that. The question is comfortability level and confidence that he can go out there and execute the things he needs to do, operating on that opposite side, right? I've seen a lot of people say, this isn't that big of a deal. People are making a big deal. I mean, imagine that you're a right-handed person, right? And you write beautifully, wonderfully, quickly, efficiently, effectively with that right hand. And then someone were to stomp all over it and you're not able to use it at all whatsoever. And then you're asked to write a wonderful poem, soliloquy, whatever it is, in a minute and a half with your opposite arm, with your opposite hand. Same techniques, all the things that you practice on one side, right, that you don't really focus on the other side, or initiating those movements, those same patterns on the other side, becomes extremely difficult to execute that in the same fashion, the same way. Are there people that are capable of doing that on both sides with no issues and no problems? Absolutely. Is that every single person that exists in this world? No. It's the same thing on the football field. Yes, you have the same techniques and similar things. However, the start point is different. The hand, like you talked about, hand that you punch with, initiate contact with, different. How you start your kick slide, different. All of it is different. It's the same kind of technique, but it's initiated different. It starts different. There's a different execution of said form and technique, and that doesn't always translate smoothly. And if you're playing tackle in professional football, or any position in professional football, it's all about how well you execute things, how smoothly you execute things. You got to be able to do those things with confidence. You can't do them with confidence. That can impact and affect performance.
If it was really that easy, every single good right tackle could play left tackle.
True. Also,
that doesn't happen. That's why left tackles are, the ones you have to latch onto and make sure that you get. Not everyone can do it. They're training him to be a left tackle, but it appears that right tackle is on the horizon for him. He's got heavy hands. He plays pretty well. He will be an improvement over Mike McGlinchey in the pass game, I believe. I don't know if that'll happen immediately. He's going to have to some time. He's going to have to get used to it. But what we're going to lose is in the run game, because Mike McGlinchey is far better run blocker than Jalen Moore is at this stage in his career. He's just one of the best to do it. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Mike McGlinchey is very good in the run game. So the 49ers are going to struggle a little bit in that area. So you're going to have a give and take. And right now, the way that teams are playing the 49ers defensively, they're loading up the box, 5, 6 men on the line of scrimmage, and saying, all right, Jimmy, go beat us. And right now, Jimmy, over the last 2 weeks, has proven that he can get the ball to his receivers in open spaces. But then they're starting to mix it up a little bit, and they're starting to change things up. And, that's why that pressure, these guys are going to have to win one-on-one battles, because when you put this many guys at the line of scrimmage, it gives you, opportunities down the field to be able to hit these open receivers, but you have to have the time to do so. So when you get one-on-one possibilities like this, you got to be able to take advantage of it. And you don't really want to chip, because if you have to chip guys on the outside, then those guys aren't getting into routes. And you want these guys getting into routes where they can really take advantage of a team trying to load up in the box, run a base cover 3, and just try to take away your run game. I mean, basically people are looking at the 49ers and thinking they're, trying to make them one-handed. And you just got to go out there and execute. So let's see what happens. I'm curious who they end up starting. I'm not sure this is going to be Jalen Moore. I'm going to be looking into what Kyle Shanahan says during the week. I think right now the leader in the clubhouse would be Tom Compton. Even though he didn't have that great of a performance, he's been playing right tackle throughout training camp. And once they flipped him, we were there when they flipped him.
We were literally at the practice at training camp where they took McKivitz off and moved McKivitz inside, flipped Tom Compton out into the exterior, and the second group started having more success.
Yeah, and Tom Compton did a very good job. And actually, Tom Compton didn't do bad in training camp. It was actually shocking because I thought Tom Compton was going to get cut from this football team.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as he moved to right tackle, he played well. Now, he looked bad. He did not look good in this game.
No.
I thought in the first half he looked okay. The second half, there were struggles. Chandler Jones got after him. Marcus Golden got after him. So it might be too tall of an order, but is Jalen Moore going to be ready? If Jalen Moore is ready, I would start him 100% of the time. But we'll see what happens because I think right now Compton's got a little bit of a leg up just because he's so comfortable playing right tackle since he's been doing it so long this year.
Yeah, and then the big thing also is going to be Kyle's comfortability with whoever he puts out there, asking them to do whatever the game plan is expected of him. If Tom Compton's more comfortable with the techniques and more comfortable with the execution, and Kyle's seeing it in practice, and he's seeing some shaky sections or portions from Jalen Moore, he'll roll with Tom Compton. He'll roll with the veteran and give Jalen an additional week and extra time to get ready to go in and fill in at that spot. That wouldn't surprise me or shock me in the slightest if that's the case. This is definitely a toss-up at the moment, at this point in time. I think you, me, Cutback crew, everybody, for the most part, 49ers fans everywhere, want to see the rookie go out there and get some snaps at that crucial position because they want answers, right? They want answers to the McGlinchey conundrum and what's going on there. But I think that what has been lost in all of this is the past of Mike McGlinchey, people are unwilling to let go of because this year he has looked very, very solid. He has looked significantly better in pass pro sets than he ever has. Some people have said and argued, hey, I feel like he's taken a step back in the run blocking aspect. And you know what? At times he's made some mistakes and had some struggles, but he still has made some great blocks as well and still done a good enough job for the run game to be as successful as it's been through this portion of the season with no Raheem Mostert and at one point in time Trey Sermon and a practice squad running back out there. I'm fine with what McGlinchey has done. I think options for the O-line is the key thing right now. And I think Jalen Moore's development gives you a better idea of what options you may have going forward. So, of course, I would love to see Jalen Moore to be the guy to go out there at right tackle and succeed because now you go into the offseason and there's a fire lit under everyone's butt. You don't have to sign Daniel Brunskill, right? You can move on from that. You can walk away from that experiment. You can focus on Aaron Banks' development if you wanted to and you really love somebody in the draft. You can go after them too to bolster and give yourself even more depth. And now Mike McGlinchey sitting there going, if I want to continue being a right tackle in this league, I got to have to fend off the young man, or I got to make the transition into right guard and, shine. Otherwise, I'm expendable.
Yeah, it's interesting, and it's interesting between Aaron Banks and Jalen Moore as well. Who is going to be the one that steps forth? If they feel Aaron Banks isn't progressing enough, they're going to have to re-up with Laken Tomlinson.
Yep.
And because you do need a couple of these guys to step up. Now, in a perfect world, both of these guys step up and be key contributors to your team.
True.
As far as Mike McGlinchey, what people got to remember is part of the reason he was such a good run blocker last year was that he lost the weight, so he was faster. He was able to get across people's face. He did all those things, but then he struggled in the pass game. What he did was he tried to find a happy medium weight where he could be able to anchor down, but he was going to lose a little bit of quickness.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a give and take with this, with this league and this position. Not everyone can be absolute freaks of nature like Trent Williams. You're hoping that Aaron Banks and Jalen Moore end up being those freaks of nature. Well, they're hard to come by. That's why when you get them, you lock them up for a long period of time. So we're going to see some interesting stuff. I hope it's Jalen Moore because I would like to see this guy, what his potential is. We saw it in a limited capacity when Trent Williams was out. Now can he do it, in a bigger role? And if he can, that's good news for the 49ers. That's really good news for next year because then Jalen Moore can slide in either at right tackle, right guard, or left guard, depending on what happens. If Banks develops, you could actually go with Moore and Banks on the interior with Mike McGlinchey at right tackle.
You very well could. That's 100% accurate. That's definitely a thing that they could do. A lot of options for the 49ers and how to address this O-line. And Jalen Moore opens up those avenues and opportunities. Obviously, if Aaron Banks can develop and does the things he needs to do, gives you even more options and more cap space that you free up for the 49ers. That's always nice, having cap space so you can sign other guys and make moves in free agency. The Niners weren't done with roster moves, though. They also released linebacker Christian Ellis from the practice squad. Hi, Christian. Bye, Christian. See you later. So long, farewell. Avita saying goodbye. He's gone as quickly as he came. Doesn't not a surprise to, I don't think, either of us, because it was kind of a shock that they
revolving door of linebackers.
Correct.
They keep bringing in linebackers and then releasing them. And they're a lot of practice squad guys, all with the same measurables: 6'2", 6'3", 230 pounds, usually former safeties.
True.
Super fast guys, and they want to see what they can, get out of them. And if they don't see the potential there, they move them on. Because I do think they're looking for particular guys that they can add, on future contracts and stuff next year, because they are going to have some questions at the back end of that linebacker group, because some of those guys don't need to be there next year.
Very accurate, and very accurate. But there's still a couple other guys that there's question marks around. Whether that's Dre Greenlaw, whether it's Josh Norman. The latter, the one I just talked about, Josh Norman, dealing with a rib injury. It looks like fractured ribs is what he's been dealing with. This would be. I'm seeing a lot of people talking about, wow, only been on the roster for a portion of the season. He's already had 2 significant injuries in the rib area. Just get rid of him. Just cut him. Look, Josh Norman has played really, really well with the secondary group out there. Yes, the penalties, the DPIs, the holdings, the grabbiness, you don't want to see it. But for the most part, Ant, he's been pretty solid in coverage. He's done a great job of communicating with the rest of the secondary in terms of where to be in space. It's nice having a veteran out there who understands the schemes and defenses and what he's seeing and how to attack it. Mm-hmm. If Josh Norman's not able to go, is this the week that Deommodore Lenoir is going to be asked to step up in a big way, going up against a lot of talented, fast, speedy wideouts with the Los Angeles Rams?
Probably not.
You think it'll be Dre Kirkpatrick?
Yeah, probably be Dre Kirkpatrick. I think that's the hierarchy of how things are going. Because I do believe that right now it's still Norman's job, and then it's Kirkpatrick, and then it's Deommodore Lenoir. I think that's just the way they're going with it. That's the way they've been rolling on the outside. And I mean, Josh Norman, he has he been perfect? No. His run fits haven't been great. He's made some mistakes in that area and giving up some points. He's a little grabby at times, but you got to expect that from Josh Norman. That's what he's going to do, just like Richard Sherman would be doing. Those are all areas and things that he's going to struggle with, and you got to get used to it. Now, the one push that's been happening from the fan base is to get rid of him for what happened at the game, the way that he got the penalty and then got upset with his teammate. I will say this: this happens all the time in football. This is 100% happens in football all the time. Josh Norman, if he would have done something to Kyle Shanahan, or if they would not have worked this out, then yeah, he wouldn't need to be on this roster if he was going to be a cancer. I do not believe that is the case. I honestly believe that after this, and I bet you if they actually were able to talk about it, Tavon Wilson and Josh Norman worked this thing out already. And, said, hey man, I'm sorry, I was in the heat of the moment. I got you, no problems. This stuff happens in locker rooms. What you got is a guy like Josh Norman. You know what I liked about it? I know a lot of people are going to hate it. I liked that there was passion and fire there. That was a guy that was fired up about football, fired up about being on the team. And we're talking about a team that needs that fire right now. So is he the perfect option for the 49ers at corner? No. Is he the best option for the 49ers at corner right now? Absolutely. We need him out on the field. The 49ers are a better defense with Josh Norman and Emmanuel Mosley at corner than we are with any other grouping. And I like Deommodore Lenoir. In fact, anyone that's been watching since the draft time knows that I've been a huge fan of Deommodore Lenoir. I just would like for Deommodore Lenoir to be able to grow and get better, because from what I saw on film, he's not a better option than Josh Norman right now. He probably will be next year. Norman's going one way, Deommodore Lenoir's on the way up, but that is not right now. We need the best guys we can put out there, especially against very crafty, very intelligent wide receivers, and the way that McVay is able to put together offense. It's not a week you really want to go put a rookie out there where McVay can scheme it up to get him in one-on-one situations, because the 49ers are going to have to create turnovers. They're going to have to create situations where there's one-on-one matchups, and you want to make sure you have a guy that knows where he's supposed to be, especially with the safety room being in flux. You don't have guys you can count on to help out a young guy in those situations. Deommodore Lenoir in the first 2 games, he played admirably, and part of the reason he did is because he had Jaquiski Tartt and Jimmy Ward helping him be in the right positions. However, there were a lot of times where he still had bad technique, wasn't putting himself in the right position, and it cost the 49ers a couple of times big. And one of those times was against Devontae Adams on a critical 3rd down. So let's remember that he's still a rookie, he's still growing, and he's going to be a good player for us in the future. But right now, Josh Norman's a better player. Maybe people don't want to hear it, but that's the truth.
Not only that, you cannot forget about the crucial red zone touchdown in that Green Bay game as well, where he completely misplays it. He doesn't have good leverage, doesn't have good technique. He's not prepared for what he's seeing. But that's a situation where Mike LaFleur knows he has a rookie cornerback out there in space and comes up with something and has them run something that I have not seen Green Bay run at all against anybody else. Not a single time on any other situation have they run something similar to that concept. It was a concept specifically schemed up for the 49ers, that defense, and for that kid. It was designed to put him in a bad spot.
Right, because a rookie's only going to know what he's seen. Only what he's seen on film, only what the coaches tell him. So somebody like Josh Norman that's seen it all, he has a better chance of understanding the concept early on. And even he gets confused and he's made some mistakes on rub routes with conversation, with the safeties and things. It's not an easy position to play. And he's made mistakes this year. That's not even a question. But the last week, especially in that first half, besides the penalty, he played good. Yeah. And I mean, I don't know what anyone else wants from him.
They don't want him giving up slants when he's playing cover 3.
Slants are going to happen in cover 3. That's just the way of the world. In that certain situation, the question is, where's the linebacker? And I can tell you where the linebacker was. It was play action pass. So the linebacker was taking a step forward and having to worry about the run because it's Fred Warner, and Fred Warner has to make every freaking run tackle that there is. So he was playing outside linebacker and trying to fly in there to make a play. And so that's what happens. There's a lot of stress on the defense. Norman made the tackle. Sure. Guess what? Every cornerback coach in the league is okay with you tackling him once he makes the catch. Yep. You just don't want the broken tackles. Now, Norman had some missed tackles in the game. He did. But he's not playing terrible enough that you're like, oh, yeah, we need to get rid of him and play somebody that hasn't been playing. Because, I mean, let's be honest, Dre Kirkpatrick hasn't been playing better than Josh Norman.
Question, did 49ers fans forget all the problems they had last year with Richard Sherman out there in space and the bail technique and just letting things sit underneath and the 49ers not really being able to change because Richard Sherman was just boxed in and you can't put him in man because he's going to get beat deep over the top of speed.
Yeah.
You try and throw him in cover 2, you open yourself up to other liabilities. So you're just letting him sit and cover a deep third of the field and everyone's just taking things underneath. Could just be that. I mean, we could just do that all day.
I mean, the thing is Norman and Sherman aren't too far off now in athletic ability. They're both very, very intelligent guys as well. But Norman can run man coverage.
Correct.
Because he gets very grabby and handsy, he's a little bit quicker than Richard Sherman. Now, Richard Sherman has a little bit of advantage in the mental capacity. He's a little bit smarter at recognizing things because he'll put himself in positions. You're like, how did you even know? You're running the route for the guy. So it's a little bit of give and take, but athletic ability-wise, Norman affords you the opportunity to run multiple different coverages. Where Richard Sherman, he handcuffs you. He straps you into running that cover 3 because him out on an island and anything else is a bad situation. And he has to give a lot of cushion because if not, he's going to get smoked deep. It's not a good situation for the 49ers at corner. The expectation was that they were going to have Jason Verrett. He was going to lock down one side. And then Emmanuel Mosley was going to be the second guy that was going to hold it down. And if Emmanuel Mosley would have been the second guy, we would all be feeling comfortable about the cornerback position.
True.
But it's unfortunate Jason Verrett went down. You put your eggs in that basket. I understand why, because I think I was expecting Jason Verrett to have an all-pro season this year. What he had put on film in 2020 was impressive. And it's unfortunate he got hurt again. And it just looks like he's just never going to be able to stay healthy. And it's too bad because he's a good guy. He's a good player. And I think he could have been, a very, very good player in the NFL if he wouldn't have the injury.
You're not wrong. You're not wrong at all, Ant. And that week 1 game was looking good for Verrett. Everything was. He was playing well. The defense was rolling through that game. The offense was rolling. That's the only time all season where I think 49ers fans saw for at least, up until the last few minutes of that fourth quarter, the team that they were expecting to see all season long. And, things just kind of didn't go that way for San Francisco.
Yeah. And you would have saw a ton of man coverage if Jason Verrett would have stayed healthy.
100%.
Him, Mosley, Jimmy Ward would have been running man coverage all over the place. It would have been a completely different defensive scheme from DeMeco Ryans.
It would have been. Unfortunately, when you lose a key piece, it
changes everything.
It does. It changes a lot. Yeah. And one of those key pieces has been Dre Greenlaw, who's been out since that week 1 game and that pick 6. Man, what a segue. But he's slowly working himself back. The hope was this week against the Rams. That's been the hope. That's been the kind of the place they've been targeting. There was an outside chance last week. They had to run through some tests, and Kyle commented the other day and said he didn't quite get where we wanted him to be, and they're really just scared of just re-injuring it and rushing him back too early. So they're just going to put it off another week. That's what he said last week about Dre Greenlaw. He had that core muscle surgery. The good news is Fred Warner thinks that he's getting close, like really, really close. He says he's looking good. He doesn't know when he's going to return. Obviously, the trainers and everything are going to decide that, but he's been battling his tail off to get back. Every day that he sees him, he seems like he's taking another step forward, another step forward. And he talked about how he's missing this so much and missing being out there with the guys. This is a guy who's going to be extremely motivated because the way he started off the year, the way he played that first game, you and I both felt like, "Whoo, man! I'll tell you what, got this linebacking core, even without Jason Verrett, you know what? We may be all right. Dre Greenlaw is playing, looking like he's elevated. Fred's looking like Fred. This defense looking like this defense. Get a Mosley back in the secondary, and you have less questions. You have some less questions. How big is Dre Greenlaw going to be, and do you expect that he's going to return this week?
I'm hopeful. I mean, I really am, but I have no idea. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not in that training room. I have no idea if he's going to come back or not. I think that the comments that were made by Fred Warner are encouraging. I think it shows that he is really close, and I don't think Fred says it unless he thinks that Dre's coming back in the next week or two.
Agreed.
We do need him out there. He will change the game for Fred Warner because he'll be able to be in the right positions where he's supposed to be, and he'll be able to turn plays in. He'll be doing some of the technique things that Al-Shaair isn't able to do consistently right now. Al-Shaair flashes. He has flashes where he looks great, and everyone thinks he's better than Dre Greenlaw. But Dre Greenlaw does the dirty things that no one really sees. He gets in there, and he sheds blocks, but also occupies blockers and turns plays in where Fred can ultimately make the tackle. It is a tandem thing. You have to work together. All three of those linebackers have to work in tandem and be in the right spots at the right time. You have guys who are supposed to cut it off, guys that are supposed to be there for the tackle, other guys who are there for the cutback lane. All of it is important, and all of them have to work together. And when you're missing one of those cogs, and that's why I was so upset with Demetrius Flanagan-Folds, is he was just standing there. And he creates cutback lanes. He's not cutting it off at the point of attack, not doing the leverage things that he's supposed to do, and that makes it more difficult for Fred. That makes it more difficult for the other linebackers, Marcel Harris. So linebacker play has been hurting this year without Dre because whenever you're missing one of those guys, it's important. I know we didn't notice it as big in 2019 when we went from Quan Alexander to Dre Greenlaw because of how great Greenlaw played. But when Quan came back, that linebacker core was fantastic, and it elevated that defense. It really did help them because they were struggling there for a little bit. There was a time when they were struggling 100%. Just a little bit on the run, stopping the run. It's always been a concern when you're in the wide nine. Adding these three linebackers together is very important. It's very big for Fred because Fred's numbers are going to go up as he's able to play in the right positions that he wants to play, and Dre can take over the role that he's supposed to. Right now, Fred has been covering for everyone. Fred has been doing a little bit of what everyone does because he's the best linebacker, and they've been using him in certain ways to use his skill set to benefit the team. He's kind of taking one for the team right now, the same way Eric Armstead did last year.
But here's the thing, right? Fred's taking one for the team and still putting up the numbers to back it because he's the best, one of the best, if not the best linebacker in all of football.
He is a linebacker that can do the most things. There's no linebacker that can do all the things that he can do the way that he can do. And I think that his intelligence also is there. So I think that this would be big for the 49ers. It would really help that front seven because whenever you have a weakness and you can strengthen another area, it's important. But having this front seven be all world again, or one of those top five you consider top five with Bosa, Armstead, and those guys, and then go with this linebacker group, which I think this playing time has been good for Al-Shaair.
100%.
But getting him back into the linebacker role where he was supposed to be is a better situation for the 49ers where he's not in coverage all the time. Let Dre do those things. Let Fred do those things. They're better at it. Plus, Al-Shaair misses tackles. Dre Greenlaw does not miss tackles.
Correct.
Greenlaw's all over it, and then Al-Shaair can flash in certain situations and really get stopped. So, yeah, this would be a big move for the 49ers. If he can come back this week would be awesome. But here in the next couple weeks especially.
Next couple weeks especially, but this week would be huge. With how good the run game has been for the Los Angeles Rams, which has surprised some and not surprised others. Having Greenlaw back, a sure tackler, a guy who can consistently be in the right spot, eat up those blocks that you talked about, and play it with the right technique and leverage. So that even when he eats up the blocks, yeah, I'm coming into this gap, that's my gap, but I'm going to play it in such a way where I take that outside leverage and force you back in, funnel you back into where the rest of my help is, which is where Fred is, if Aziz in space as well. Aziz is where my safeties are coming down from, not letting guys get to the edge. We saw that touchdown run by James Conner, or in the red zone, Aziz comes in and fills his goal, fills his gap. Great, he does a great job of filling his hole, but he takes an inside lane to make that fill, and that inside lane allows Conner to come through the hole, bounce outside, make one guy miss in Emmanuel Mosley, and he's off to the races, and he's got a nice little easy walk-in touchdown. Whereas if he funnels that inside, the block on the outside that's set by Christian Kirk on Tavon Wilson has no impact, no effect on the play, because while Fred is getting blocked by great execution by their linemen getting up to second level, Tavon Wilson is going to be able to squeeze the play down right there for a 2 or 3 yard gain, maybe 4 yard gain if James Conner pushes through, with him, Tavon Wilson, and Talanoa Hufanga collapsing in space to make the play. There's just differences, things like that can change, how well an offense is able to execute, like you talked about. Those things are huge. Those things are important. Greenlaw has demonstrated that he is that guy right now, right? We don't have questions about Fred Warner and Dre Greenlaw snaps. There was always going to be questions about Azeez Al-Shaair snaps. And Azeez Al-Shaair has definitely far exceeded expectations in terms of what everyone thought he could do and what he could be for this team. However, it's in spurts. It's great moments, great drives, maybe 2 great quarters, and then some really poor execution that leads to bad things for the 49ers. That's just unfortunate. But if you're able to limit those snaps like you talked about, get him off the field so he's not playing 75, 80% of snaps. He's playing 25, 30% of your snaps. Well, then, hey, you're in a better spot. You're in a better position because you have your best players on the field for more opportunities. And then you have a guy who's exceeded expectation out there able to operate at an extremely high level for whatever his snap share ends up being, whatever Nico Ryan schemes up for that week, and that they go out and execute. That's a good thing for San Francisco. It's a good thing for Azeez Al-Shaair, right? Because you're able to take all the things that you've already done this season, all the snaps you've played, all the experience you've gained, all the mistakes you've made, work on them, focus on them, and now you have a finite number of snaps, opportunities, and schemes and situations to go out there and fix those things, correct the things you made mistakes on, and then execute at an even higher level in the things that you're being asked to do.
It also changes how DeMeco Ryans is able to call defense.
True.
When you have another weapon, you're able to use somebody else to do something. He can put Al-Shaair on the line of scrimmage, which he did early in this season. You put him up there, you help him. He helps take away the outside zone. He's also there to play against the read option and the mesh point and all that. Now it's not a Samson Ebukam. Now it's somebody like him, Azeez, and he can get out there. He's fast. He can fly around. So it changes everything. Putting these guys in these situations where they can be successful is part of defense. But when you don't have those guys, you're trying to find ways to mask it. You're trying to find ways to use these guys, but also mask somebody else's weakness. So every time you get somebody back and you're able to institute a new part of your game plan that you always wanted to execute, it's good for your team. So DeMeco Ryans is going to have another asset to play with if Dre is back. And that's going to be big because then Azeez is going to be used in a different manner. You're going to be able to see different kind of blitzes again because now you can blitz Fred because now you can feel confident that Dre Greenlaw or Azeez, can be in the right position at the right time. Where right now you're worried about that. Is Marcel going to be there? Is Demetrius Flanagan-Foles even know where he is? Those are all big questions.
Does he understand that football is being played right now?
It's a big question. So I think it's huge, and that front part, that front seven will help stabilize that back end of the defense.
True.
If Josh Norman doesn't have to cover very long, Josh Norman's going to be a very successful corner in this league. Still, even though he's definitely not Josh Norman from Carolina, Josh Norman for his first part of the Washington football team days. No. He's definitely not that guy, but he's still smart enough to get it done. But a lot of it would help with the run fits being stopped because 2nd and 8, 3rd and 7 are a whole lot better than what they've been facing right now, 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2.
Yeah, 3rd and 1 and 3rd and 2 are just hard because you have to be perfect. You have to be perfect almost everywhere in order to get stops on 3rd and 1s, 3rd and 2s, 4th and shorts. You have to be perfect. You get the right push. The guys who need to win not only need to win, but they need to win in the right spot. We saw the Colt McCoy sneak on a 4th and 1, in which right, everyone does a good job, and Eric Armstead kills in the All-22 film in the first half. He destroys with the arm over swim. He is there in the backfield, but there's a problem. He's there in the backfield, but he's there to take away something else. He's not actually there to take away the quarterback sneak because his job was to win and be able to, hey, if they go fullback dive, hey, they try and get on the outside, you blow through there and take care of business. And he does. But the other guys around him don't win to that same extent. And when you don't have everyone winning at that level, it's really hard to get stops on 4th and 1 because, you just need 1 or 2 guys to do just a little bit extra, and you're going to get that yard because it's only a yard and it's not that much.
Yeah, a yard is nothing in the NFL. You really can't get a yard. It's a game of inches, and it's unfortunate, but, the offense has an advantage there where they know the snap count. They know what's going to happen. They know what the play is going to be. Defense has to get in the right alignment. They have to win at the point of attack, and the offensive line just double teams across the board. All they're trying to do is get a little bit of a surge. If they get a little bit of a surge, they can pick up 1 yard. 1 yard is a hard stop. Usually it's from, some sort of malfunction, whether it's a quarterback turning the wrong way, a running back not getting vertical right away, trying to go horizontal where he gets kind of nicked up, or a fantastic defensive play that blows it up. Maybe somebody gets through a little bit quicker. If Armstead would have got through in the A-gap, he would have blown that play up. but he was there in case, he was playing his gap and his responsibilities. He blew it up in his way. It just wasn't enough. And they had a couple of chances. They had opportunities to stop quarterback sneaks, and they weren't able to do it. Another one where Aziz has Colt McCoy, dead to rights in the backfield, and Colt McCoy ends up falling forward for a first down. Like, grab him and yank him. Come on, man. Do something. But those are the little things that go a long way in how a game's outcome is. All of a sudden you get a new set of downs. So that's a stop. That's a momentum stop. Those are huge plays in the game. The 49ers did not win enough of those, and that's why they lost to Arizona. If you win those in the next game, you can win. That's how easy it is.
Oh, it is. I mean, I know you're making it sound simple, and there's going to be people like, it's never that simple. It can never be that easy. It truly is. We've been saying this now for literally the entirety of the season. This team is just plays away from outcomes being different, whether that's not turning the football over, whether that's jumping on a fumble when it actually happens, whether that's catching an interception that's in your hand. Little things here and there.
I think if it was a thing where you could tell that the talent wasn't there, they didn't have enough talent, they were being out-talented. Last year in 2020, there were moments where you saw them and you're like,
There's just nothing.
We don't have no speed on defense. We're not talented enough, to be able to win these football games consistently.
We physically cannot get to the quarterback fast enough. Russell Wilson sitting in the pocket for 5 seconds. Aaron Rodgers sitting in the pocket for 7 seconds on that Monday night game. I mean, you weren't gonna get there, right? It just wasn't gonna happen consistently. This year, you have quarterbacks getting rid of the ball in 2.5, 3 seconds at times. Under 4, and we're not getting there. People, the rush isn't getting there. It's like it's. We watched the same game because the rush is almost there.
Yeah,
it's almost. This is not last year at all. It's not even close.
Well, I mean, if it was lack of talent, you would chalk it up. You would just say, you know what, they're better than us. We're not going to win a lot of football games. It's like if I'm the Detroit Lions, I'm like, I'm not as talented. If I'm the Miami Dolphins, I'm not as talented. But when you look at the 49ers, they're as talented as everyone else. They're just not making the plays they need to make to win. So it's always correctable. And with half the season left, all they have to do is correct it. And I know it sounds easy, but a lot of times there is a switch that can get turned on. We'll see if they can do it. If they can't, they're going to fail miserably. It's not going to be like, they came close. They're either going to get it done or they're not. There's not going to be any in between, I don't think.
No, there is no in between. They're going to turn this around, salvage it, and get close to being a 500. Well, you can't technically be 500, so a 1 game below or 1 game above 500 team, or it's going to implode. It's going to be one of those two things.
Or like my dog's best friend said in the comment section, go 8-1. Go 8-1.
I'm fine with 8-1.
Why not?
I'm fine with 8-1.
Yeah.
8-1 would be great. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, I don't know how we got there, but 8-1. Yeah, I'll take it.
8-1, I'll 100% take it.
Glorious.
11 wins in the season after the way it started, 100%, bro.
Playoffs.
Suck it, Jason. Suck it, Jason. Suck it, Jason, if we go 8-1, right? Like, that would be great. That's a tall order, though. At this point, the way this team has played and consistency that we've seen.
Isn't it always a tall order?
Oh, always.
11 games to win in the season is always a tall order.
Oh, 100%. But if you know your team's been executing right and playing at a fairly high level all season, not as tall of an order. It's It's realistic at this point in time with what we've seen from this team. There are more realistic options than that.
Than 8-1?
Than 8-1.
So 9-0.
I like the faithfulness.
Oh no, I'm just saying. I think that I don't think. Realistic. That's a tough, tall order. Yeah. What I'm saying is, I think if they start winning on more plays than they lose, they have enough talent to now overcome. And this thing can be switched around. I mean, if they forget 2021 already, pretend this is 2021 part 2, and just start a new season. I mean, that's really what they have to do. They need to start this thing fresh. Don't worry about anything that's happened, and just start new, because what happened in the past doesn't matter. You have to win these next few football games. That's your attitude. That's
100% the mindset you need to have. Right? Yeah. You're 8 games into the season. You're 3-5. Go back to the drawing board. Start practice on Thursday. Literally walk in today in an hour and a half. Kyle Shanahan, go up to the board, race it all. We're 0-0. This is the second half of the season. This is the part of the season that matters. Right? This is the section and the time that matters the most. This is about us finding who we are, realizing our potential, who we are, and then going out and being that team now for the second half of the season. Because if you do go, 9-0, 8-1, 7-2, whatever it is, 6-3, even 6-3 would be absolutely fantastic with the way this season has started for San Francisco. If you pull something like that off, the sins of the past are forgotten. And it's not about who you were 8 games into the season. Yeah. It's all about who you are now. And you'd be playing like one of the better football teams in the NFL. And not only that, you're starting to separate yourself from that middle of the pack, which is important for the 49ers to do, because if you want to make playoffs, the further you are away from the middle of the pack, middle of the road, those average teams in the NFC right now that are competing for those playoff spots, the better your chances are.
Oh, 100%. I think it is mindset. That's why I'm curious to see how they come out in this game, because it seemed like they got a little bit of the swag back after Chicago, and they were feeling good about it, and then they lost to Arizona. So are they going to shrink in the moment? Or are they going to step up and be like, you know what? No moment is too big for us. We're a big-time football team. We're going to go out there and prove it. We'll see. And, there's no shortage of talent on Los Angeles Rams.
No.
Everyone talking about, Arizona was missing guys. Could that have been a letdown early in this game? Could the 49ers have looked at, no Kyler, no DeAndre Hopkins, and said, kind of relax a little bit? Maybe. You know what you're not going to do against the Rams? You're not going to be relaxed. You're going to go out there and you're going to want to earn it. They hear what everyone's saying. So I'll be curious to see how they come back. Do they shrink in the moment, or do they rise to the occasion? That's going to give us a very good clue of how the rest of the season's going to go.
I agree with you 100%. Ant, Cutback crew, let us know down there, right now in the comment section. Do you expect the 49ers to rise the second half of the season, stay the same, or fall even further down? We want to hear from you. Let us know. Let us know about all this news, this wonderful, wonderful news and information that we brought to your faces. McGlinchey, the IR, the roster moves accordingly, Norman's rib situation, and the Greenlaw update. You excited about the possibility of Dre Greenlaw? Are you just sick of Josh Norman? We want to hear from you about all of it, so make sure you're commenting down below. And while you do that, don't forget to like. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. Hit that notification bell as well. That way you're here for all of the content that we got coming your way. And there's a lot of it. And I don't know if they knew this or not. It's Thursday. We got some stuff coming up a little bit later, and we have quite a Friday frenzy for them, with tons of content for them to engage in, whether that's Madden simulations or daily videos or other things with Jay in the Bay and Know Your Opponent segment, I think.
Yeah, Thursdays and Fridays are always big time on the channel. Sure. Lots of good stuff. Whether it's daily game preview, the live stream. There's lots of cool stuff that comes out on Thursdays, and then Fridays we hit the frenzy and what's becoming a lot of people's favorite thing, the Madden simulation. A lot of people stop by, and we've gotten comments to say this is their favorite thing besides the actual game. So if you haven't checked out the Madden simulation, go and enjoy it. Don't expect realism, expect some fun. And it's always interesting to see how Madden thinks it's going to play out. There's always some debacle that happens.
Never.
And I absolutely love it, but the reactions that happen, inactive players getting on the field, whether it's a field goal with no time left, even though all you have to do is kneel, all these things happen, and it's so shocking and fun. But yeah, usually Madden has some sort of idea of what's actually going to happen in the game.
Sure.
They've been successful on some, they've epically failed on some, but either way, it's a good time.
100%. I still got to figure out what I'm going to do about Jeff Wilson Jr., but I got a strategy. I think I got a plan. So Cutback crew, we'll see you. We'll see you on the next one. We'll see you for the preview show here in just a little bit. And until that time, stay safe.
Remember, the right way
is always the 49ers way.